Hello, good afternoon. Actually, good evening, because it's almost 4 o'clock. Just came from the gym, and yesterday I arrived here. I left the home around 2 a.m. from what I was doing last night. But I just want to come here and make some updates. I have lots of videos that I need to upload, and I didn't have a chance to upload any of them. But just today is December 2nd. So we're kicking off a new month already. Tuesday, December 2nd. That means time is going out. Also in Washington, D.C., it starts getting cold, really, really cold. So my first time here experiencing December of 2025. So far so good. When I moved here January, again, experimenting and documenting my experience in Washington, D.C., things have been okay. Recently, last month, I focused on recording very high resolution long videos, 45 to an hour videos. It is okay, but I need to go back to making a 15 minutes video, and if possible, if I have enough time, and I can make a very long video. Anyways, today was supposed to be snowing, but it did not. I guess it did. I don't know, because I woke up around 1 o'clock, so I slept very long hours. I was very tired. I didn't feel like waking up earlier, but things are probably fine. So it's gonna be snowing this week again, I think on Thursday or something, maybe next week. But other than that, what can I say? Like I said, the purpose of these videos is to document my, not just my experience in DC, but also document my graduate program journey, right? So yesterday I presented a two research paper, which I think it needs to be, I need to make a video about it and post it on YouTube as well, so people can see it. I found it. The first research paper was about why don't countries converge? Like, why don't we see poor countries converge with rich countries? And we found that the nations that have, we also tested, we were supposed to look at the education, life expectancy, and many other things, but we found that those things are not the reason why countries don't converge. So we could not really find a single reason. Maybe we found countries with higher rule of law, better rule of law, good quality institutions. They higher GDP. They tend to have a higher life expectancy and those kind of things. But it was a very hard project to do, because we have 4 people on the team, and we have all become kind of busy on these things. But we tried our best. So when I said I'm doing this research, I really was kind of it's tough to do a collaborations and work on different teams. But we will see what we can do. Is do this Friday, so we have to submit this Friday. Once it's done, I'm going to sort of like post on internet, on here, trying to share about what I think is the outcome. All right. The second thing that I want to share, that yesterday I was presenting the Chinese government as a venture capitalist. I mentioned this a long time ago in the videos. Can government be a venture capitalist? And the venture capitalist, yes, and China showcased that, right? In 2000, is it 2000 or 1950, 70, something like that, something around there. I don't remember the research paper, but the Chinese government, the central government, came together and they decided to not just do regulations, but also not just be a regulatory body, because the government is not to be a regulatory body, right? Like in the United States, in the other countries, the government is known to be, the main regulatory. Like their job is to oversee private sector, oversee people, right? Like control how things should go, right? That's the purpose of government. The government is not supposed to be investing in things, right? But what we see in China is that the government doesn't just regulate, they also invest. So they came together and they decided to start putting the money in the areas that there is no investments. So they let private companies choose where they want to invest, right? They can go somewhere and invest whenever they want to invest. But the government of China will just go where there's no desirable investments from the private sector and invest the money in that area. So for instance, if you want to build a company, for example, in Uganda, right, you would have to ask the government. The government will have to direct you to what they want you to invest, right? They will tell you have to put the money in here, invest here, right? Instead of letting people choose what they want to be. In China, it's different. In China, private companies, they choose what they want to be, right? They choose where they think is the best. And then where there's no investments, China will come in and put the money in that area and trying to help that the businesses in that area thrive. And what they found was that in this research paper that I was presenting yesterday was that businesses that were given money from the Chinese government succeeded, like they thrived. And they also found that when the Chinese government led the private sector, private venture capitalists invest whatever they want to invest, they found out that the research found out that all the private investors, venture capitalists, they put their money like in the coastal cities, coastal areas of the country, and then the rural areas did not have investments. This makes sense, considering like for instance in the United States, you have already pretty much all the businesses operating on the coast, right? Same thing. So it was the same problem in China. So what China did as a government, they started going to the area where there is no desirable, where in a rural area, and they will invest in that area, build factories, and then so to choose where to invest from what they found, the Chinese government will look at the farms that are failing, farms that are not performing better, and then they will put money in those farms and try to reboost them, right? I wish we did that in the United States. Like we have successful farms in New York City, the Washington DC here where I am, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Like those cities are doing great, right? Austin, Houston, Dallas, right? Like those places are doing great. But if you go to Midwest, for instance, Ohio, for instance, Minneapolis, for instance, Kentucky, South Carolina, North Carolina, right? You see a bunch of cities that are completely running down, and the businesses have to either shut down or move. And we see this trend from 1950s, where factories were thriving. All of a sudden, they moved to the coastal cities, seeking for either workers or just they could not stand the competition, right? So if it was the Chinese government, they would, simply just sort of put the money in those factories, put money in those farms, keep them thriving, keep them working. So that would actually, I mentioned this when I was making a video while driving in the rural area. That would ensure that people don't have to move to cities seeking for jobs. People have to stay where they are. So that's what Chinese was doing, especially in small towns, right? So anyway, that might not necessarily like make China super rich. Like US is still the richest country with lots of billionaires, right? But these billionaires, they just collect the money, and yeah, we know these billionaires are located in coastal cities, right? And if they have to have you move to them for the job opportunities, not only do they have a chance, do they have a privilege to raise prices on you, they also have a privilege to pay you lower wages. They can pay you lower wages, raise prices on you on your apartment, and you never afford a house because everything's owned by them. But by government, by investing money in the rural areas, people can stay there and keep their houses, keep their assets without having to move, and that will reduce the constraints and the stress on housing market and other things in the cities and coastal areas, and that will also prevent the gentrifications and having to move people out. So that's what I found in this research paper. I am really excited about it, even though United States is very, very fixed on anti-China, especially the communist. And some people also don't really want to admit that a country like China can have new ideas. Those ideas can be very beneficial to the American people. So hey, they do them, because the more educated you are in the United States, the more you can get a good paying job. So I'm gonna get a good paying job. I'm gonna move on, but keep this in mind that I'm gonna make a video because that's why I'm making these videos, right? Once you graduate from master's program, PhD, undergrad, right? You do these things and you never recorded them, and you move on. You get a job, you forget about it. You get a house or a wife, a children, right? You forget about them. But when I make a video like this and I put it out there, people are going to find it 10, 15, 20 years later and realize, you know what, maybe we could have done something. We could have put the money to the local community and to the local governments. So like I really say, like when Amazon is building a new factory, they don't just choose to build in a rural of Alabama, or they're going to build in a coastal city because they choose. Businesses have a right to choose where they want to be, right? Whereby in China, same thing, but the Chinese will look at where the business wants to go, then they will let them do whatever they want to do. Then China will go in there and build and go on what is not desirable place to be, build those areas. And there are so many things that we need to do in that state. And I feel like every country should do the same thing. Every country should see where is the investment going, and then let those businesses choose where they want to be. Then the government should invest where there is no opportunity, where there's no investments. And if there's any farms is fading, the government should jump in and put the money to raise those farms up. In the States, in the USA, we actually see the opposite, right? Like we see during COVID, we see a lot of big corporations like Amazon, Google, Facebook, right, getting a ton of loans from the government for a very cheap interest rate, and then they fire all the workers, and then they keep they keep an entire paycheck, and then they raise their wage, they raise their salaries for themselves. And this is real. Like I'm not trying to be like an advocate for people. I'm not trying to sound dumb here. I'm not trying to sound like I'm an advocate for this and that. No, it's a real thing. It's happening. Like the government does, like U.S. government, every government in the world, including Chinese government, they put the money into the community. Okay, the difference is the U.S. government puts the money where there's already money. They give those who already have, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But then these people who are given the money, the opportunity to grow, instead of hiring people and thriving, they fire everybody. And then they, even they deploy AI, so. And when people complain about it, guess what they do? They bring somebody like Donald Trump, who's going to bring somebody like Elon Musk, and they fire all the workers, and then even threaten to even deploy more AI into the workforce. So this behavior is very popular, and when these things happens all the time in the country like United States, guess what happens next? Is people get angry, they fight, and all of a sudden, like matter of seconds, democracy corrupts, like the government corrupts, and this can happen at any moment. But there is still hope out there. There's still time. We are still here to make things better. But that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. Like always, ciao ciao.